let's see if we did this right. Uh, well, we're waiting to see if anybody's here. If somebody's here, I didn't screw this up. I'll set it up right. Maybe it's going to come. Oh, no. Okay. So we didn't screw it up. That is good. Let me put this in there. What's up, folks? And as always, when we're done here, we will do a separate one on Patreon. Now, hang on for a second while I get this thing into its uh, deal. Gimbal. That's what I'm looking for. Let's power this bad boy on and hope for the best. There it went. All right. You're just watching one of our older videos. I'm sorry. Now, hopefully you enjoy those older ones. I know some. What's for dinner will probably be tacos, but I forgot to take them out the freezer, so it'll probably be another late dinner. Anyway, how are we all doing today? I just kind of wanted to get on here. I missed a lot of our Monday lives, and I'm gonna make that purple morph, so I'll be excited. It's gonna happen, and oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That spider video was, it was something, right? How's breeding going? Breeding is going great. We are getting really close to eggs. Very close. I don't know if we have any yet. Not there. Checking my two. If we have some, I'll show them to you that I think are the closest. Not yet, but you're running around right before. So you got several that are getting really close to popping. You got several that are, still doing the ovulation things and smelling things, and it's going about like I had thought it would. I mean, we're about that point of the year where I would expect to start seeing some eggs. So we're kind of right on schedule, which I expect to see some eggs in the next week or two, or anywhere from a day to a week. I probably didn't do as good of a job this time as tracking pre-lay sheds to when they actually will lay, because they're just going to lay. And I found that when I start marking the calendar, I get overly like, ugh. So I just gonna let it happen this year and go from there. And you can also look and tell. I mean, there's only you can look and tell there's a problem a lot of times. So the rattlesnakes are doing good, and they're not here at the house. Obviously at the cabin. So you won't see them when we do these lives for a while. What will eventually happen, and we could probably do that, Jonathan. What will eventually happen is all of our videos will eventually be shot over there. So then we'll have everything around and we'll go from there. So let me show you those two comparisons you asked for. And there is one topic I kind of want to cover, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. Wait, what? No, don't ever do that. I just knocked the tub out. So now I got a mess and I got to make sure that snake's okay. You're fine, buddy. Okay, so now I got a mess. Here is what a zebra bee looks like covered in coconut. And this is the difference. So there you can see the darker is Hades, the lighter is Zeus. Although Zeus is going to need a new tub. Poor guy. And now I'm going to show you something, because I just scared the crap out of the snake because I made a mistake. And sometimes that happens with tubs. I'm not perfect, but not too frequently, thank God. So let me set this here. We're going to put Hades up, and I can guarantee you, well, first, I can tell you that snake is okay. Get back in there, buddy. And what happened was I just pulled the tub out a little too far, and before I could recover it, it fell, right? Which is terrible. So, they do happen. But what does that mean? That does mean we just stressed that. And when you have them very healthy, I talked about how stress can affect these guys, and it certainly can. But since he's never really stressed, I don't expect him to come out any worse for the wear. Now, if I kept screwing with him and everything else, would wobble show up? Probably not from one instance. No concern. See, he's going to hide his head. He's able to flip that back over where he wants to and hide it. He's doing A-okay. Get back over there, buddy. So what we'll do is we'll redo his whole tub. He gets a fresh, clean tub now. Lucky him. Yeah, Wayne, the funny thing is, I full disclose pretty much anyway. I'll be honest, it's not the first time I've ever had that happen. Uh, Usually, when I pull those out too far, I'm able to catch them. I just didn't get a chance to do it that time, which is unfortunate. And it also means when my wife comes home, she's going to be really, really pissed. So, and of course, I don't have a spare set up. So what we'll do is we'll get to, because look at the, let me show you how long it, or how much stuff is on the floor there. Ah! So we won't be able to reuse any of that. Somebody did ask how long it ordered whenever I order my TGR rack. It kind of varies depending on how busy they are. They're getting busier and busier and busier. I know, thank you. Well done, right? And but you're usually looking at least 6 weeks out. And that's been a source of, complaints for a lot of people, I know. And I totally get it. Nobody wants to wait that long. And it sucks. But one of the things they're doing is they're kind of, they don't manufacture the tubs. The tubs are from Freedom Breeder. So they're having to order those, right? And get those from another source. And then they're also going to have to, oh, I got just enough water. Look at that. Lucky me. Get you a fresh water dish while I'm at it. Look at this guy. He's already coming out of his hole. There he is. Really cool looking still. And you can see he's no worse for the wear. And he'll go right back into his hide. So what we'll do is put him right back in there. Now, I will have to get more water and add some moisture to that here in a little while. But for the time being, he's going to be fine. And then I'm just going to roll through that coconut mess and, well, I'll deal with that later. All right, back to the show. Sorry about that. That was not fun. To breed your own rats versus buying. Oh, man, that's a loaded question. And what I mean is, it depends on how you're buying. If you're buying like from, say, a large frozen source, it's probably around 10 to 15 snakes. But it kind of just there. And then somebody asked about, what was it? I wanted to answer that question. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, on the snake hissing. That was it. No, you shouldn't be worried. It's just, now, obviously, if it's hissing at you, it's trying to communicate something, right? And I need to beat myself after that. There. And it's going to be, it's going to be fine. You'll probably just need to work with it. It may strike. It's more likely to strike. So definitely watch out for that. But it probably just needs to be more like handled every now and then to kind of get used to people. And some of them will never calm down. They always say, they'll all calm down. Every now and then you'll get one that won't. But it likely will. It's just kind of communicate to kind of leave me alone. As far as the thermostat, I swear by the, my favorite are the Herpstats. We've reviewed Herpstats. We like Herpstats. I used them for a long time before I reviewed them. Herpstat is my favorite one. That being said, are there other brands that you can use? Absolutely. If you have a preference for a different brand, don't feel like you have to use Herpstats because I say so. I like them. I find them simple to use. They hold temperatures like a boss. They're great, but that's just me. So I know other people use all kinds of different brands and are very happy with it. How many rats per snake? Now, see, I don't have that answer. That's a better answer for our question guy Kurt. He just brings me what I need when the time comes, and then we also supply the whole area through our shop. So we have an entire room full of rats, like bigger than this, much bigger than this. But it's just, you won't need that unless you're going to be doing the rats as a business. And as far as raffles go for snakes, I'm not a big fan. And what I mean is, on here, I'm not a big fan. And I probably won't do it. What I probably will do is we will do some giveaways and some raffles. All that gets done through my VIP page. As a matter of fact, this is supposed to have our first giveaway this month, and I have to send me a program to set that up. And we'll be doing those things there. We may be doing some raffles there, but it won't be a buy a ticket raffle. Them being subscribers is their ticket. So it's, not something I'll probably do on YouTube. The reason I won't do it on YouTube is it's pretty simple for me, and that we've done one giveaway on YouTube, one, and that was we gave away some T-shirts, right? And uh, we've never done a giveaway since then. And there's nothing wrong with doing giveaways, but we wanted to grow our channel organically. We didn't want people signing up just to get free shit. So I personally have shied away from that. Now, other people do a lot of it, and that's okay. That's not a problem. But, and yeah, Phantom Boy, I'd be concerned. And the only reason I would be concerned is, boas can carry IBD. So you have a baby red-tailed boa, it can carry IBD. Doesn't mean it will. Most of them probably don't. But they can be carriers. They won't show symptoms. If that passes on to your ball pythons, it's going to be a death sentence for them. So I shy away from keeping boas with my collection. But yeah. And I think 6 to 8 weeks, Joe. So, and somebody had asked, and I want to get to it, about not eating and how long it took, or how to get a snake to eat that's not eating. One of the biggest things that we do to be successful with that is switching foods. And on a month, right now, Donna, you ain't got a problem, okay? Especially if you got multiple snakes. I got a lot of things I haven't eaten in several months because of the breeding season. They're gravid. A lot of my males are wanting to breed, not eat. We're starting to shut some of that down now. That's pretty normal this time of year. And anybody's like, oh, they'll eat all year and they'll never miss a meal. Well, maybe if you have a single snake smelling no pheromones, but in my world, that's just not the case. So a month is no big deal. Now, when you start talking about you're getting into 3, 4, 5, 6 months, then you really do have a problem. 6 months is longer than I like a snake to go. Has it happened? Sure. I've had it go. I think our record is a little over 6 months, but that's not normal. So, like, just what actually just got suggested, feeding soft fur rats. You can do that. I found mice, and now I'm talking. I'll have big snakes get stuck on mice for a while. They'll stop eating, and then I'll go to mice, and they'll eat mice for a while. It may take them 4 months to get back to rats, but I get them eating. You want to do what works for the snake, and definitely when they quit eating, it's time for a full substrate change, a full cage cleaning, all of that. Make sure things are good to go. Double check things like your heat, your humidity. If they don't have a hide, if you're running a rack system without hides, some of my stubborn eaters get hides. Give them a hide. Sometimes that'll get them back on food. Do all those things to make them more secure, and they'll feel better. My carpet python is right here in the glass. He'll be moving to the new house here very soon too. And yeah, banana. Somebody's asked about banana. Banana's banana. There is some sex linking there, where you have male makers and female makers, and they're going to make the same sex, but otherwise, it's about the same. And yes, of course, there'll be a Patreon live after this one. We would never do one of these and not do a Patreon live. So, and I don't have any bamboos. I suppose you could feed it a gerbil. I've never done it, but I don't know. And as far as rats having more protein, I'm guessing you're talking about versus mice. And I don't think it's a huge difference piece by piece. There's more weight to rats. I prefer rats. One big meal definitely gets the job done a lot better than a bunch of small meals. But I guarantee you a mouse is a better meal for a snake than nothing. So if they're not eating, sometimes those mice get them back on food. It's not something that I like, but it is a way to certainly do that. So, hey, thank you, Blue Devil, and thank you for the love of the channel. I appreciate that. Maternal incubation, I think it's fine. I know a lot of people have done it, and I have a friend that did it, I think, last year, and had a pretty high success rate with it on one clutch. I'm not going to do it, like right now. There may come a time I do it just for fun, for the experience. But my concern is mostly the female not being on as much food as frequently and not getting back up to size of next year. That's really why we do that. So, right, and that change, for whatever reason, sometimes it's just that change up will get them going. I hear people like, oh well, they'll eat eventually. My snake hasn't eaten in fill in the blanks some exorbitant long time, and all my stuff's okay. I'm just gonna let it be. It'll be fine. No, you got to do something. Whoa, One Gun Grave, thank you very much. That's amazing. I really appreciate it. Two black Mexican kings. I don't have any Mexican kings, so those things are awesome, but they're that shiny black. They're beautiful. If I was going to get into colubrids, we'd probably get into something like, Mexican Black Kings. The heaviest ball python I have, probably about 3,200 grams. Usually is about as big as she gets. I'd like to get one bigger, but I don't really subscribe to like powder feeding or just trying to push them into size. They get fed once a week. So as far as a rat breeding question, guys, I wish I could provide you an answer, but one thing that we really try to do is I try not to give you answers that are wrong. If I don't know and I don't have a reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, I'm not going to tell you something. When it comes to rats, all I know is you need boys and girls. I need to get Kurt to do a live rat breeding sometime. And maybe that would, well, not him personally breeding, but, you know, a live rat breeding chat. And maybe he could answer some of those questions because I just don't, it's not my forte. It's not my area of expertise. And again, on shouldn't you be concerned to get to 4K? Maybe, right? What I mean by maybe is some snakes are going to get to 4K. If they're healthy and they're doing good and they're fine, and that's great. I wish some of mine were 4K. Now, if it's a short snake and it's 4K, like, and it looks overweight and you got some skin rolls, and you know you want to slow that down, but that's kind of all I'd say. Actually, on that one, Mr. Blue, I would try a live mouse, and I wouldn't sweat it too much because you're right there at that wall with this season. You know, right there, anywhere between about 750 and 1,100 grams. Your females tend to just stop when it gets to this point of year, and then they'll pick back up. So it kind of happens. Angolans. I don't have any Angolans. Now, one of my partners at the shop keeps Angolans, and we did breed some Angolans there, but it's not a project of mine. So I don't know much about the Mexican alligator lizards. It's more like if you got a crotalus question, I'm your guy, and if you got a ball python question, I can help with that too. The voltas. Now the voltas are cool. So for those of you that aren't familiar with voltas, I don't have any voltas, but volta's a region, so it's not a morph. You know, you can't go buy a volta morph. That's not how that works. But they're from a region where the ball pythons just tend to get bigger. Kind of like here in Kansas, you know, we have really big deer. You go out to the East Coast, they have really small deer, but they're still deer. And so I had a merch question. I'll get to your merch question. So then what I would say is, you know, voltas are good because they're going to get bigger. They tend to have more eggs. So if you have a female volta, she may drop you 14 or 15 eggs versus a nice big normal male being 8 or 9. So voltas are cool and they're big, and that's pretty awesome. How do you tame downs? Covers, if he's in a glass tank, and this is a proof positive point I want to make, and I'm not trying to pick on this, so bear with me. I promise if it sounds that way at first, it's not my goal at all. When you have a snake in a glass tank where it can see everything, it does make it much more stressful. We do have a little bit of merch, Andrew Nolan, but it's through the Teespring on our videos. You can get the, right now we only have one shirt there that says the quote from Huge Asshole. But, and so that's going to cause that stress. They see things walking by. There's a lot more going on. They don't feel as secure. So when your snake's striking out like that and smacking its face in the glass or those kind of things, it's honestly because of the glass cage. Now, does that mean that the glass cage is crap and you got to get rid of it and you have to buy a rack and tub system? No, you don't. Okay, you don't. You can work with that glass cage. One thing I would suggest is darkening out at least 3 sides of it. So if you have a snake being a problem and it's striking everything, make it more secure. So just put some black construction paper around the outsides or all around it, even if you need to kind of calm it down. I mean, these guys are nocturnal. They spend most of their time in a hole. So you really want to give them that. That's why I like racks for that space, ease of cleaning, ease of work, but also for that. If you have a display snake, obviously you want glass so you can see. But if you're having that problem, you got to make it best for the snake and kind of cover some of that up and give it some more cover, and I think you'll be fine. Now, somebody had asked about Patreon. Is it a yearly subscription? I wish we could set up where it could be yearly or monthly, and I'm going to ask them to do that change because I've had a few people say, hey, I wish I could just pay once a year and be done and then have it stay. But it is set up on a monthly basis currently, and that is by their website design. So, you know, what is Patreon? I'll explain. I love this, and I feel like I'm doing an advertisement too. What it is Patreon is a website for YouTube creators or any kind of creator that's out there where they basically, it's like a VIP club is what I always say. So, and I'll get to that right there in 1 second. Let me explain Patreon. I'll get to that in my outbreak, although I took my medication in place. So you can sign up and there's a charge and you pick the charge. Like you can actually pick the fee. It ranges for us, from $1 on up to $100 a month. And each tier comes with different rewards and different things you get. And so that will kind of give you extra content too. Because every time I do a YouTube video, I do a Patreon video, whether it's a live or a standard video. I do like a blog post on there a lot, and just kind of my thoughts and everything else. That's where we'll do giveaways. That's where we sell our animals. They get first dibs to purchase animals. So you don't see me at shows or on Morph Market. So that's what Patreon kind of is. And my first snake was actually a red-tailed boa a long time ago. Now somebody sounds like a prison torture. What does? Patreon, the name. Somebody asked about a mite outbreak. So here's what I would do. And if you keep a lot of snakes, okay, you're going to get mites sometime. It's just going to happen. You're going to pick them up from a show. You're going to bring something back on their clothes, or somebody somewhere you're going to get one. So let's say I found mites, and for better purpose, in this tub here. Okay, we don't, but somebody asked, we're going to talk about it. Here's what I would start with. There's a spray. I don't have it with me because I have it at the other house. I've set up some tubs and I always pre-treat everything anyway. That's why I didn't pre-treat that one, because my spray's at the other house. So I would use this Nature's Chemistry Reptile spray. So I would treat this snake and I would treat the litter. And how I would do that is I'd pull the water out of it, spray all the litter, spray the snake directly, right? And then I would go here and treat, 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 here and treat. So because of that one snake, I'm going to treat everything that touches it in a circle. So, and then I'm going to come back in 3 days, repeat, come back in 2 or 3 days and repeat, come back in 2 or 3 days and repeat. And if you do that, you're likely to get through it. Another thing I'm not going to do is work with this snake and then go over here and work with something without cleaning myself up, right? So definitely start, like I would end my day here and treat. And that way you can take care of it. And if you do that, you're going to get through it without it becoming a collection wide. Remember, treat multiple times. It's kind of like taking penicillin, when you get sick, and they always say finish the bottle. Same thing with treatment. You got to finish what you're doing, because if you don't, there's still eggs in there, and those sprays kill the eggs. You want to make sure and get all of that stuff down. So that is how I deal with it. What I recommend. Somebody said they'd buy a spider, they're going to buy it for me, and thank you very much. And I know the spider's a hot topic, and it gets to be a hot topic, and then it stops being a hot topic, and people will find something else to bitch about. But uh, claim it. That's the best thing you can do. Like I am not a tax expert. That's why we hired an accountant. But just if you buy a spider, one thing I would say is, if you're going to order it online, ask questions, see if they can even send you a little Snapchat video. I don't ever use Snapchat, but we do Patreon, and I can send a little video through that or whatnot if you want. Don't be afraid to ask somebody to do that for you. Okay? Don't feel like you're inconveniencing somebody to ask them to send you a picture or something like that, because you're buying from them. You should be able to ask that. If it's at a show, look it over. Ask about it and ask about what they know about it. They should tell you beforehand too about wobble. Or I always ask, hey, are you familiar with spider wobble? And we start the conversation there. But you don't have to be afraid of them as long as you do the right, diligence. And then the breeder should do the right diligence right as well. Do I see what? Oh, that's all I want. Okay. A banana spider, maybe one day, probably not today. So, but we will at some point. Now, somebody had asked, and I don't have a fire lesser yellow belly, but somebody had asked about Xanthic. I work with SK line, but there's no line that's really bad. If I was going to recommend a line, I'd recommend SK. It's my favorite line, and then I can sell stuff to you, right? Also, I'd say VPI would be my next favorite line to go with. They both have great examples. They both have crap examples. Anybody who tells you one line is definitely better than the rest, they're just pushing an agenda. So that's the truth. Now, I would steer away from, me personally, I would steer away from Jolliffe line. Jolliffe is just as nice, but there just doesn't seem to be as many people out there working with it, making new genes and new blood a little harder to get in. Other than that, no real issue. So, and yeah, queen bees are, it's been 2 weeks for what, Andrew? Nathan, what I tell him, here's how the conversation goes. I say, are you familiar with spider wobble? And if they go, no, what's that? I say, well, all spiders, have a neurological issue that's linked to the gene. It was in the first one that was brought in the wild. As a matter of fact, there's been a second adult spider found in the wild now. Has not been imported. They're talking about maybe importing it in, but Freedom Breeder mentioned that. I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, I said it was the original one that was brought in that they all come from. It's linked to the gene. And what it usually presents as is this. And I kind of will show them if I can get one that'll show them what it looks like. And, I'm like, there's always a chance it could get worse, but it's always going to be there. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And they have, whenever I sell a snake to anybody, whether at a show or online, I literally give them a phone number to contact me by and an email to contact me by, so they can always get. We're not a fly by night, and the people who don't do things like that, they're not going to be around. Like, that's what always perplexes me is when it's like, oh, these dirty breeders are doing this. Really? Because if you had a breeder in today's age, in this modern world, if I went to a show and I screwed you over, I screwed 5 or 6 people over the way social media is, it'd be all over, right? And I wouldn't have a business. I wouldn't be a breeder. So they're not going to do that. Most of us understand that. I think my largest clutch is 11, maybe. That's what I think. But don't quote me on it. It may only be 10. But I know I've had 10 to 11. I don't think I've ever hit 12 yet, but we're trying. So, and I am not sure on the Inferno Granite. Couldn't tell you. I'm trying to go off the top of my head and can't remember. The best to start breeding with, that's always a loaded question. To always say breed what you like, and I don't ever sell in Canada yet, but money's going to be a big factor. It depends how much you want to invest in it to get started. If you're wanting to just do it for fun and not wanting to put a bunch of money until you get your feet wet, pastel's great, spider's great, lesser's awesome for it. Some of those kind of things would be good. If you want to really just jump in head first, you can pick up some visual recessives. You can go with something that's kind of a little more new. Sumas are still expensive. You can get some kind of crazy 5-gene combo. The problem comes in, though, is you want to make sure you can recognize the genes that are coming out. And I agree, Pite are great. Pite are a great way to start. But it's going to be the eye of the beholder. I've seen Pite where I've actually gone to shows there's too many Pite, so it just depends. And Mike, probably not. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But what I can tell you is we tend not to vend at many shows because Patreon buys all of our animals. And so we don't have any. Sexing some snakes, I think we've done one on that. Actually, Javier, if you look, we did one on that. And we actually even used a scale to show you the pressure we use. Bananas are awesome. We'll check my female out. I'll pull her out. We didn't pull the snake out in a bit. This is my in-house produced female banana we're raising up. This is a single gene banana right there. And bananas come in a lot of different qualities, They're just, this one's got a lot of nice lavender. You can still see it's all blushed out right in there and there. Beautiful, right? So I love the banana gene. And I know it's kind of a love-hate relationship, but and the reason is because of sex linking. So on a sex link gene, which the banana is the only one I'm familiar, and spiders aren't my favorite. I love spiders, Stephanie, but my favorite is actually Xanthic. For me, Xanthic is it. Like, that's what got me started. I got into spider just because zebra bees, to pair with that Xanthic. So it's all about that for me. But and Blue Devil, what couldn't you resist? I think I missed a comment there. I love black pastel, Cody. This is why I love black pastel. I'll show you. I'm giving all my males a week off. So, and this guy here is done for the year. And this is something I got to tell you about too when you breed. He just shed, which is a good thing. Is this male here, what I mean by he's done for the year is we're kind of wrapping up the season. And if you can look, he's been more interested in breeding than eating. He's just starting to get a little bit thinner than I want from work. So that means we're shutting his workload off. Right? So he's going to stop working this year, and he's going to start just getting to settle in and start getting back to eating and not using his metabolism much, put some weight back on. But that's kind of where I'm at on that. Don't pull out too far. I didn't that time. Those are just so much shorter. They get me every now and then. I haven't had one up that high get me, but Which should I choose? Well, there's a couple ways you can go about doing it. I think the purple you're going to get is going to be probably this lavender. So bananas are going to be a key ingredient, and it's going to basically be banana with a super black pastel eventually. Now that actually has a risk of kinking. We are working on that. We're going to try some different incubation methods to see if we can avoid it. If we can't avoid it, even doing a completely separate incubation to control the temps and make it 100% spot on, we'll never do it again. And that's why we have a backup plan, which is going to be using our Suma. So we'll go Suma to the female banana, which will make mahogany bananas. And then we can take a mahogany banana and breed back, probably to the Suma. So I have to raise up a female, which we'll get female mahogany bananas because we have a female banana, right? And then we can start hitting that Suma banana, which I think will be a nice all-color snake. Hey, thank you, Sin Havoc. I just got a snake name, Sin. We sell our animals through Patreon mostly, so the order of how I sell things is this. We kind of put in a pecking order for things. We do Patreon first. They get first dibs because they're paying those VIP fees, right? And then after that, we go to take them to a show. And if we take them to a show, they don't sell at a show, we have enough that we'll start posting them online. If we just have a few things, we may end up just like, there's a few local shops. I know I can like wholesale some stuff too if I ever need to, but that's pretty rare. I only know that because last time at a show, they came up and paid my show prices. Yes. I don't know as much about the Mojave banana, but I know that the lesser banana pretty much deletes freckles, so I would imagine Mojave would affect it too. And pretty much anything in the bell complex would probably help lower that. You love my vids? Well, thank you. I appreciate that, man. We work hard on these, and I know I said I was going to do more lives, and with trying to get the cabin ready and just the way my Mondays have been, we haven't had a chance to do it. What about the Cinny banana? I just pulled out my black pastel banana, and that's going to be very, very similar to a Cinny banana. Like, very, very similar. Agni is looking better. Good. That's what I want to hear. Eating now, right? That's awesome. So, somebody asked a question right before that. Hybrids. I've seen hybrids. I have a buddy who made some angry balls. They're really not I'm not a hybrid guy, but there's nothing wrong with it. Hey, thank you so much, Nathan, for joining the Patreon on the Apollo tier. I really appreciate it. That has been our lifeblood. That's what's allowed us to do the cabin and allowed us to do all these really cool things. And I mean, we're trying to make something different and something special in the community. So, how long to make a banana pied? You have a female, a female pied and a banana spider male. Well, you're going to take the banana spider male and you're going to put to the female pied. So then what you're going to get is some bananas 100% het pied. If the pied is a female, then keep back one of those male offspring, raise him up, and put him back to his mother. Yes, I understand this inbreeding. Somebody's like, oh my God, it's okay. We're talking about reptiles here. It's not going to affect them on that. Now, can you inbreed all through? No. At some point, you have to outcross. But you can definitely inbreed, a son to a mother. You can even do sibling to sibling. What I wouldn't do is sibling to sibling, take those offspring, sibling to sibling. Now, can you do like a father to mother, take those siblings and sibling to sibling? Yep, but that's where you probably got to stop. And if you ever get something that you don't think looks like it should, then you've definitely you jump a shark. But at that point, you need to bring in more new blood, even if it means making your project take longer because you have to, make sure the animals are healthy. And I did, and we actually have a video on that Viper Venom, if you look, that shows exactly, I think you probably just have to look Olympus Reptile as an incubator, and we turned an old fridge into an incubator, and we even made it purple, so it's pretty cool. Any morphs I think should be off the market? No. Honestly, I don't. And there's morphs I won't work with. There's things I won't touch with a 10-foot pole. But I don't think they should be off the market because, again, I think the market's going to take care of itself. And I'll give you my prime example I always use is desert. Not desert ghost, desert, okay? When desert came out, everyone was like, whoa! They were really excited. Everybody was jumping into it. Man, people are paying big money. You're talking like 10, 15, 20 grand to get into that project early on. And then come to find out the females are infertile. So they're not infertile. I shouldn't say that. They're fertile. They'll produce eggs, but there's something wrong in them, and they'll all egg bind and die. So you're going to kill every female on their first egg. Female can't lay eggs and survive. And that just kind of killed that project, right? So now, good luck finding a desert. And if you do find one, they're not very expensive. And people tell you, hey, this is just a pet. Some people will make them because they want to make them. And people always use a caveat, you shouldn't breed this. You know, like you can't breed the female; she's gonna die. So you know you don't do that. And so there's nothing wrong then with making those as long as people aren't breeding the females, and nobody does. And thank you very much to Ryder Strong. I appreciate that greatly. And so you just missed it, Gabby. We just had it out. So I don't work with those snakes because I don't want something in my collection that I really don't feel like I can breed. You know, but I don't begrudge people who do want to make those for a pet because they're pretty or that's a goal they have, as long as they're not breeding them and being irresponsible with them. So, hi Desiree, I just got a baby ball pastel jigsaw, nice. Okay, on the glass, that's a little bit more difficult. The reason being is that, well, shit moves on glass. Now on these, I'm able to drill glass. I can't drill. So a few things you can do is if you don't have the snake in it for a while, or you can like put the snake out of it for an hour, you can try just a dab of hot glue to hold it down. You know, and but you'll still want to check that. 'Cause sometimes that'll fail. That is a workable thing. Avoid tape. Tape is a no go because tape can come off and get stuck on your snake. Another way is a suction cup, but again, you'll still have to check it to make sure it doesn't get knocked off. Because if it gets knocked off, then that heat's going to keep going. So I would say, you know, maybe a little dab of hot glue or a suction cup on the glass holding that down. Silicone is another good way to go with. And you can do what Mr. Blue said and put it under the heat pad. And I've done that like actually on my scaleless rattlesnake because I can't be in there messing with it all the time. It is under the heat pad just to make sure the heat pad doesn't get too hot. I don't think that controls it as well as like these tubs do when I'm out inside, but it's better than it burning. So you might look at doing that. And there too, if you already have the heat tape on there, you can take some tape and put it on the bottom and tape it to the heat pad. And then you'll just kind of have to play with it, getting its temperature right where it's right in there, and you can get a thermometer. And some of those come with a suction cup to stick the probe in. And if the thermometer comes, you know, off and gets moved, it ain't gonna hurt anything. It's gonna read wrong. So you can put that back in there and no problem. So that's what I would do. I think the safest way on glass is probably to go with the under the mount would be me. So anyway, how long do I quarantine? It just depends. Like I'm not going to tell you I always quarantine for X amount of time, and I'll get to that, Brett. That's a great question. I actually kind of like that story. It depends on where the snake comes from, and it depends on if I know its history and things like that. So, but I always do quarantine. I've had to quarantine in a room before because of space, where you just put it as far away as you can. You mark them, and then you treat them different. So, like you treat them almost like they have a mite infestation, even though they don't. And you can do that as well. And baby oil might get that off, but I'd still rather not get it on there. But good to know it. We'll take it off. Somebody asked why we're called Olympus, and I can share that. It goes back to when I was a kid. I've had reptiles since I was a kid, and I got my first lizard. It was a green anole. Those little $5 anoles that they actually sell for food a lot of times, not for people but for other animals. I got that. My parents let me have it. They were like, "Okay, no snakes, but we'll go with this." And at the same time, and I don't remember the exact age I was, but we were studying mythology in school. I was really into mythology. We were studying how that was cool, right? And so what I ended up doing was I named my first lizard Zeus, just because that's what I was studying. And then it just kind of stuck. And I know a lot of people do it, but since it stuck, when we decided to make a run at this, we were trying to think of what we wanted to name it and everything else. And I came up with Olympus because Mount Olympus is where all of the Greek gods lived, and that's how we started naming our reptiles. I'd had Zeus, I'd had Hades when I was a kid, I'd had Tiberius in my one of my chameleons, and then there's another one I forgot the name of. My boa was named Lane because he already had a name when I got him, but so that is where that name came from. And then of course the color of purple is the color of royalty, and the gods obviously are royal. It's also a color tied to Manhattan, Kansas, and tied to me being a Viking fan, so it just kind of fit, and that's what it is. So nothing too crazy, but that's how we came up with our name. But yeah, if you have the way to tell on a meal, and there's some bad information. I haven't seen anybody say this yet, but I've been told some people are. I don't know who, but like it shouldn't be bigger than the neck. No. So what you do, time to feed the snake. You don't really want to stretch them too much on these guys but kind of look at the biggest part of their body, right? Right there. And their food shouldn't be any bigger around than that. That's what you're going for. So like this thing here, I'd feed it weaned to smaller smalls or maybe even a full-size small, kind of looking at it and see. And that's what I go with. But you're fine on pups on a 6-month-old snake. I'm assuming, because it's more based on not age but size, but you're probably right there. I didn't, Sin. I never did. So, and I don't powder feed. So how I got my first snake in high school, my parents had said, my mom said the typical mom thing, that I could never have a snake in the house. And I said, okay. So I watched a boa constrictor for my science teacher one summer. I stuck it in my girlfriend's house. And then I bought it and kept it at my girlfriend's house. And my mom knew it was there. And I just told her, hey, you said I couldn't have it in the house. I don't. I have it in somebody else's house. And that was how we kind of rocked that. But, Inchy Freeway that you're talking about, I think you're probably talking about, I know what you're talking about. Oh man, I'm going to have coconut all over my socks. My wife's going to be pissed at me. You're probably talking about this little one. Oh, which is the Pastel Freeway. I think that's what you were hoping to see, I'm hoping. Right there, really cool little snake. Growing really well. We got that, and when we got it, it was teeny tiny still. But I knew who I was buying it from, and I trusted them, and they were like, hey, if you have a problem, give it to me, we'll take it back. So yeah, we've had it and it ate great. The Gordon Ramsay of the snake world, I'll take it. I do try to be honest. I don't try to be brutal, but I think there's a point to transparency, I mean, hell, I dropped a snake on the floor in here. I mean, shit happens. And the thing is, that shit that happens to me, I know it happens to all of you guys too. So if I were to sit here and act like that I knew everything, you've heard me say like 8 times in here, I don't have the answer to that, and that I never make mistakes, and that my shit doesn't smell like shit, then I would be doing myself a disservice and you guys a disservice. So that is the foul biting one. A super blast female too. You can go with a lot of things on that. Somebody had asked earlier about our most expensive snake, so I think I'll show you that one. Oh, this was the most I ever personally paid for a snake, I do believe. Oh, you're Captain Hissy Pants today. And sometimes he has problems. And that is our scaleless head lemon blast male. There you can really see the scaleless head. Really cool snake. Now these have come down in price like everything does. Everything in this world is going to drop, right? It's just the way it works nowadays, and that's normal market. But I think we paid about $1,300 for him, and that was the most I've ever paid for a single snake. Get back in there, buddy. All right. So, and I didn't do that, right when I first started. And, but as it grew, we were able to, we did. And I don't think I have any available right now. So sorry. I've never kept hognoses. They're really cool, but I've just never kept them. If you can get a hold of a guy by the name of, I think it's Dave Kroll, he knows his shit about hognose, like expert. So you might hit him up if you can find him. I can't remember the name of his business, but that's his name. And we may go to Tinley this year, but we won't be vending at Tinley. The reason is I just won't have enough stuff to vend. Another problem is it might be the same time as another trip I have planned with my wife, and I will put my wife before Tinley. Sprayed on with bleach. Yeah, you're human. You're human. We're all human. Like, it's just the way it is. It sucks, but we're gonna make mistakes. And I've probably made decisions that killed snakes. I mean, and that sounds terrible to say, but I probably have. I come back to my green tree python. I probably waited too long to try to clear an impaction and it urate. Maybe if I'd have done that sooner, it would have. Maybe if I hadn't done that sooner, it wouldn't have either. Now you all think green tree. So I had to remember when I first got them. So that might have been it. So you're always going to second guess yourself and things like that too. And we're all going to make mistakes. And maybe it wouldn't have been any different, but maybe it would have. And one day, yes, I do want to go check out Brian's Reptarium. He's told me to come up there. He's given me an open invite. I haven't had time. I'm still a working man, right? And let's see, pastel. Ooh, you don't want to do that pastel of the Killer Queen. Wait a minute. I'm thinking Killer Queen B. As long as you don't have Spider in there with that Hidden Gene Woma, you're fine. Oh, Killer Queen Spin. These were pastel queen, probably be lesser spin. If you're talking about a spinner, then no. If it's just got pinstripe in it, then knock yourself out. But otherwise, that spider with that HGW will be lethal. So, and Snake Discovery might be another good one. She does a lot of different animals where we're pretty more focused, so she might be good to hit up on that too. Black pastel all day long, man. Black pastel, cinnamon, something dark with those bananas. It sounds different to go dark, but you go dark and you bring the purples out and the colors out. It's beautiful. Probably won't do a Mamba Gabby just because I'm not good with. I shouldn't say I'm not good. I'm not comfortable with the Lapids, so I just not something I'm gonna have a lot of right now until I feel comfortable with them. A black pastel. Well, a black pastel is a single gene. It's just a black pastel. GHI would be another going, man. GHI Mojave Banana would be the shit. HGW mean highway too? Well, if it's highway, then go for it. But if it's Hidden Gene Woma, then that's one that. And Mamba are crazy, and that's the problem, man. Those Elapids, they're all over the place. They're way different than working a pit viper. And I don't want to just jump into that world and start with like the worst thing out there, which is a Mamba, or a king is difficult for a lot of people to work. I'm not going to just go right to that. I am going to do it the way where I feel safe and comfortable. I owe it to my family to be safe. I owe it to the people that care about me to be safe. My coworkers, I owe it to them to be safe. So I'm not going to go do something that makes me not safe right away. I have never heard of the Jazzy line, so I couldn't. That's a first for me. Thank you. We want to be welcoming. This should be a welcoming hobby. And you know what, Stephanie? We can. We've been talking about that, and we just haven't done it yet because I got to sit down and write them all out. I probably will let that set for just a bit before I do it, just because I want to kind of let all this nonsense with the spider stuff cool off a bit, and then we'll do that, because there are a lot of lethal combos with spider, but there's lethal combos with a lot of stuff, and I don't want to just feed that monster. And the blackhead's a gene I don't have, but we want to get into. Actually, we're going to get into. And we don't, Mr. Blue. But the reason we don't is because, A, it's really, 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 really expensive. And I only work with pit vipers, and our local hospital has it. So, like, if I were to take a bite, I have anti-venom on hand at our local hospital. It's not mine, but they've got it here. So we're covered. You've seen crazy. There are some crazy looking ones. Good genes to add to pied. Some people love to put spider. If you like a lot of white, you can do a spider pie. They just come out with a colored head, a white body. If you don't want that much white, which I typically don't, I think yellow belly, orange dream, things are going to bring out the orange will look really good on them. So, tell you what time. Talking about time, the best time is night, darkness. Like we usually feed at night, 99% of the time. I'll do things a lot of people don't do, where I'll open it, I'll put a rat in there, and if it doesn't take it right away, I'm going to close it, and I'm just going to listen and give it a chance. So go from there. Should you get a boyfriend only? You can answer that. I don't know about that. Probably only pit vipers for now, yes. And yeah, the Suma Super Mahogany. Somebody asked that, and I didn't get to it, and I wanted to answer that. But nice. Get ready. I mean, if she's swelled, nothing major, you're going to get to that point, and you're going to end up having eggs at some point. We do have babies here, but we only have babies here because, like, find something cool to pull out. Well, come here. There was one I just looked at that looked really cool. It wasn't you. You're cool, but not who I'm wanting. You're not who I'm wanting. You're not who I'm wanting. Why are you being goofy? You're not who I'm wanting. Where is the one I was wanting? I hate when you can't find what you're looking for. And I'll just pull this one out. We do have babies here. I had a really oddball looking spider I was going to show off. And, but just because we haven't had a warm enough weather to ship. So we don't have any that are going to be. I'm like, this is, somebody owns this, This is 181706. Whoa, wait a minute. wait a minute, nobody owns this yet because it's from Clutch 17. These things are actually doing good, but we have a few that are going slow, so we haven't made Clutch 17 available yet. But when it is available, it'll be available on Patreon. Yeah, there is a 1,000-gram wall, and thank you too. I appreciate that, Kai, because not everybody feels that way. So people hate my guts, which is fine too. And it's usually what I find is kind of around the season, and it's kind of like they're going through all the cycles, you know, like what I think they would be normally if they were going to breed, but they're just not quite big enough yet. And on Patreon, James, there will usually be a post down there which lists what's sold. I don't think we even have much available there right now, but when we do Clutch 17, they'll go there available first. And I'll show you guys why Clutch 17 isn't available yet. Because we've had a few of those that have they wanted to struggle for me, and I haven't made them available because of that. So we might, where's the one that's really giving me problems? We might end up making them available, you know, like this one here. This is a prime example. You know, I'm not comfortable selling this snake yet, just because it's not growing the way I want. You know, it's still thin. I've had to assist feed it, and I don't. So until I got them ready to go, we've kind of held off listing those. But we will list them, and we may end up listing some of them and not all, just to get that clutch out there for people, and then list the other ones later. But that's kind of what the holdup is, you know. And it'll get past it eventually. So, and if you remember, 17 was our clutch that was retained sperm. And so I think that might be part of it. And we have a female pin. Yeah, I think we have a female pin. I know we have a pin. I don't remember if it's female or male. But it's one that's given me some struggles too. So I'm having to assist feed that one. It just sucks. So that's why it's kind of slow right there. Saw your sign in the background. Oh, I want to see what that is. We used to have it say snake porn because I can change it. I need it's due to be changed. You may have something hiding there on that one. Used to look different. It's hard to say. So I don't know why your text keeps disappearing. We did. We actually have the mini reptile zoo. It is open. It's had a soft opening. We have a video on that. You can see it's located at Manhattan Reptile World. It's a joint operation with myself, Kurt from Olympus Reptiles, and also the rest of the guys from Manhattan Reptile World, Dave and Colin. So we've got that open. We did have a glass break the other day, so we got one cage not open, one of our biggest ones. But yeah, good. I'm glad I helped, Katie. That's the point of it. That is one of our most viewed videos, which is cool, but the reason we make that is to be helpful. And yes, champagne on champagne is lethal, and gray matter is not champagne on champagne. I'm trying to remember what gray matter is, and I can't off the top of my head. So yeah, and David's been to our zoo. He's seen it. All right, guys, we've been at this for just about 53 minutes, so I'm going to hop off of here. That way I can get on to Patreon, because I also just got told I'm down to 15%. I didn't charge a damn phone last night. And what is in my zoo? Well, I've got, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12 venomous snakes, 13 venomous snakes, some venomous Gila monsters. If you go watch the zoo video, it'll show you almost all of it that's in there. I can't even remember it all the top of my head. There's only about 40 animals. The big monitor's off because of the glass break. All right, guys, thank you for watching so much. We love each and every one of you. We'll see you next